All right, we're diving way back in time for a story that honestly feels like it's straight out of a myth, but it's very, very real. This is an epic tale of revenge, destiny, and the birth of one of the greatest empires the world has ever seen.
Yeah, forget about chosen ones and royal prophecies. The story of the Mauryan Empire kicks off with two people who, let's be honest, had every reason to fail. A brilliant teacher who gets publicly humiliated, and a young boy with no freedom, no status, nothing to his name. And somehow, together, they were about to change the course of history.
So I want you to picture this. It's the 4th century BC. The Indian subcontinent is this fractured, chaotic collection of kingdoms. And just over the horizon, a huge storm is gathering. Alexander the Great has just ripped through Persia, and now his armies are knocking on India's door. A threat unlike anything they had ever faced before.
Now, here's the core of the problem. You had this massive disconnect. The most powerful kingdom, Magadha, was really the only state strong enough to unite India against this invasion. But its ruler, King Dhanananda, he was way more interested in his own pleasure. I mean, while the court was living in total luxury, the people were being bled dry by these crippling taxes. It was a kingdom of wild extremes, unbelievable wealth right next to grinding poverty, all while a foreign army was getting ready to invade.
And right into this chaos walks our first protagonist, a man whose mind was sharper than any sword, and whose will was about to be forged in the fire of total humiliation.
This is Chanakya. He's an acharya, a really revered teacher from the great university of Takshashila. And he sees the bigger picture, He gets that a divided India is going to be a conquered India. So his mission is to convince Dhanananda to lead the defense. He truly believes only a united front, what he calls Akhand Bharat or an undivided India, can push back the invaders.
But the meeting, it's a complete and total disaster. Dhanananda is in the middle of a party and sees Chanakya not as some wise advisor, but as this poor guy interrupting his fun. The king literally mocks his warnings, insults him, and has him physically thrown out of the court. Just brutal.
And this right here, this is the turning point. In that moment of absolute disrespect, Chanakya makes this terrifying vow. He unties his shika, that's the sacred lock of hair worn by Brahmins, and he swears an oath of vengeance. He will not rest. He will not even tie his hair back up until he has destroyed Dhanananda and put a truly worthy ruler on the throne. A personal insult just became a national mission.
So Chanakya has the mission, he's got the strategy, but he needs a leader. He needs the person who can actually make this vision a reality.
And that's the million-dollar question, isn't it? You can't just put an ad out for future emperor. Chanakya wasn't just looking for a warrior. He needed someone with a very specific, and let's be real, a very rare set of qualities.
See, he wasn't looking for royal blood or a ton of money. He was looking for character, for real courage when faced with injustice. He was looking for someone who was a natural leader. And maybe most importantly, he was looking for a selfless spirit, someone who puts others first. He needed a will that had been toughened by hardship and a mind that was guided by justice, not by greed.
And incredibly, he finds him, not in a palace, not in a military academy, but among the most powerless people in the entire kingdom. He finds a young boy named Chandragupta, who'd been sold into slavery. This is where our second hero officially enters the story.
And check this out. This is what Chanakya saw. These weren't just random acts of kindness. They were like windows right into Chandragupta's soul. He sells himself into slavery just to save his family. He risks a serious beating just to give a thirsty man some water. And then, the ultimate test. He competes in this insane race against hunting dogs to win food, not just for himself, but for every single one of the other slaves. Now that is leadership. That is selflessness. That is a future emperor.
Okay, so Chanakya has found his chosen one. The mentor has his student. Now, the real work begins, turning a slave into a sovereign, and turning a crazy idea into a real, live empire.
And their plan was just methodical and brilliant. First, education. Chanakya personally tutors Chandragupta, molding his mind in strategy and politics at Takshashila. Next, they need muscle, so they start building a rebel army from scratch. Then, alliances. They get a crucial partner in King Parvitka, which gives them more troops and legitimacy. And finally, with their forces combined, they march on Pataliputra, the heart of the Nanda Empire.
The conquest itself is shockingly fast.
Around 322 BC, Dhanananda is defeated, and boom, Chanakya's vow is fulfilled. Chandragupta is king, but the job isn't done. He then turns west to deal with the original threat, the Greeks, now led by Alexander's general, Seleucus. After a standoff, they actually form an alliance. Seleucus gives up enormous territories in the west, and that really solidifies the new Mauryan Empire's borders.
And the sheer scale of this new power was just staggering. I mean, you can't even wrap your head around it. Greek historians wrote about this colossal force, 500,000 foot soldiers, 30,000 cavalry, and 9,000 war elephants. This wasn't just another kingdom. It was a superpower, built from absolutely nothing by a scholar and a former slave.
So what was the end result of all this? Only the largest, most unified empire in the entire history of the subcontinent. A single consolidated state that made Chanakya's dream of an Akhand Bharat a reality. Chandragupta didn't just conquer lands. He united a civilization, creating a political reality that would influence the very idea of India for thousands of years to come.
But this is where the story takes its most unexpected turn. After achieving everything, after building an empire that would stand for generations, Chandragupta's journey was still not over.
I mean, just think about that for a second. The man who had absolute power, who commanded the largest army on the continent, who ruled the vastest empire, he just decided to walk away. After more than 2 decades on the throne, he gave it all up. So what was going on? Well, his motivation was rooted in this concept called salakana. It's a sacred practice in Jainism, which was the spiritual path Chandragupta adopted later in his life. It was seen as the ultimate act of renunciation, a voluntary fast unto death done to purify the soul.
And that's exactly what he did. Chandragupta, the great emperor, passed the throne to his son, Bindusara. He gave up his palace, his armies, his wealth, everything. He became a humble monk and journeyed south, leaving the world of power and politics behind forever.
It not just leaves us with the ultimate question, right? Why? Was it a profound spiritual calling? Was it a belief that after building a worldly empire, the only thing left to conquer was himself? The story starts with this intense quest for power, and it ends with the ultimate act of surrendering it. It really forces us to ask what truly defines a great life. Is it what you build, or is it what you're willing to let go of?